So, if you watched our intro video already, thank you. And so this video, I'm just going to kind of do a short explanation of what is amateur radio, or ham radio as a lot of people call it. Well, you can't just name one thing, because amateur radio or ham radio is such a vast hobby that one thing just can't name it. Some people just view it as a hobby. They want to talk to their buddy down the road on a handheld or something like that, or a few counties over on a mobile on their way to work instead of using their phone or something. Or you have some guys that like to do HF, and that's the thing, there's something for everybody. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to kind of do a quick history of what amateur radio or ham radio is. So in 1873, James Maxwell presented his theory of the electromagnetic field. In 1901, communicated across the Atlantic with the radio device using high power and giant antennas. To cure interference, Congress approved the Radio Act of 1912, which required amateurs to be licensed and restricted the single wavelength of 200 meters. In 1914, the ARRL, or American Radio Relay League, was founded by Hiram Maxim, who found that messages could be sent more reliably over long distances if relay stations were organized. Transatlantic transmission and receiving tests began in 1921, and by 1960 the first two-way contact via the moon took place on 1296 megahertz. And like I explained, there's vast different portions of the hobby out there. So you have CW, or Morse code. You have phone, or voice, which you talk on a microphone. Sideband, FM, packet, slow scan TV, PSK31, RTTY, and now you have, over the last several years, digital is starting to make its way into the hobby, such as FT8, FT4, and what those are is it allows you to connect your computer to your radio and make contacts that way via low power, and you can make contacts a lot easier than voice whenever bands are bad. And also digital now, you have mainly FM radios that instead of an analog voice, it compresses it into a digital signal, so you have a little bit better audio quality. And they have, like I said, slow scan TV, which again is where you can connect your phone that I'm recording on, a computer, take an image, send it over the radio waves, and the person on the other end will receive it. There's people that do emergency communications for disasters. There's a lot of guys that like to build equipment and get into the technical part of the hobby. There's just a vast different portions of it. So it's not all just get on your radio and talk. There's just something for everybody nowadays to get your feet wet. So I think in the world combined, there's 3 million, maybe a little over 3 million people that are licensed amateurs. And the nice thing is you can do all this without a cell phone, because the radios, they go over radio waves, and you have different portions that are allocated for everybody. And on the licensing part, you have technician, general, and extra, and each class has a different spectrum or slice of each different frequency of the band that you can use. So technician's at the bottom, so you have the least amount of space available to you. And then if you upgrade to general, you have more HF privileges. And then if you go to extra, you have pretty well everything, all the whole pie basically of the spectrum available to you. And technician's pretty easy to get into. General, it's been a while since I've taken mine. It's not too bad. Extra, it's a little bit more complicated because you have a little bit more math and electrical know-how that you have to be tested on versus the others. So if you just want to talk to your friend down the road, you can do that with your technician. If you want to get in the HF and talk around the world a little bit more, you might want to upgrade the general. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do, and to be able to do all of it, you have to be licensed. So if you want to get licensed, first thing you need to do is get online and see if there's any amateur radio clubs around in your area. Maybe go to a meeting, kind of listen to what they're talking about, ask some questions. Most of them will be more than happy to help you out. Whenever I started out in CB through high school and stuff, and I moved to college, and I got to talking to a guy on CB, and he's like, hey, you want to kind of get your feet wet in amateur radio? So he actually went and bought me a technician study book. I studied. He let me come over, kind of see how stuff operated. I took my test, passed it, and got my feet wet for a few months, and then decided, hey, I kind of like to try this HF out. So I studied, got my general. 2 weeks later, took my test, passed. So it just depends on what you want to do with the hobby. And I mean, there's vast things you can do, but it's all on what you want to do. And that's the nice thing about amateur radio, is there's different portions of it for different people. And I've been in the hobby for 13 years roughly now. I started out whenever I was about 20. So, and I'm learning stuff every day. And that's the nice thing about with Google and YouTube and everything now, is there's so many different people that have a little niche for different portions or activities in amateur radio, that you can find something to answer your question. So amateur radio is a big hobby. You can do as little as you want with it, or you can let your mind run wild. So thanks everybody for watching. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and check mark the bell notification for any future videos. And again, welcome to the hobby, and don't be afraid to ask any questions here. We'll try to help you out. If I don't know the answer to the question, I'll ask a few others. They may be able to help you, or we may be able to get you headed in the right direction. Again, welcome to the hobby, and we'll say 73s from KC9OZA.